Welcome to the Magic and Miracles podcast, where we share and explore profound stories that bring science and spiritual together in the most illuminating and unexpected ways. A miracle is defined as something outside the realm of what you believe is possible for you. These stories will lift and enlighten, showing you that anything is possible. I am your host, Nicole Majik. Join me as we dive into real-life extraordinary stories that will captivate your curiosity, shift your mindset, and bring healing to your soul. From real-life angels to the strange and paranormal, get ready to embark on a new, inspiring journey with each episode that prove magic and miracles happen every day. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I have a very special guest here today, Steve Gamlin, as the motivational firewood guy. He blends back to basic positivity, visualization, and humor, teaching his clients to see their desired outcomes, understand their why, and build action plans to achieve them. He does this with his Vision Board Mastery program, his one-to-one group coaching, plus live and virtual events. And we are lucky enough to have him here today. The bottom line is Steve teaches people to identify what their goals look like, feel like, sound like, and even smell like. So welcome, Steve. It's so great to have you on the show today. I'm super excited for you to be here.
Thank you, Nicole, very much. And I always laugh when you say, smells like, because that's a big part of it. So I'm honored to be here and I'm looking forward to a great conversation.
Ah, sweet. So with Magic and Miracles, we want to connect people with the true stories of our own magic, miracles, everything in between, the inexplicable and just the captivating, right? And you have some really amazing stories. So I know that we're going to have to really focus in on something particular here. And what I would love to talk about is the two guardian angels in your life, because we hear all these things about, sometimes we hear about angels and just these miraculous things, but there are also everyday angels. And I know you and I have both been called angels in other people's lives, and we all have real life angels. So can you just expound on what that means for you and how that changed your life?
Yeah, I am so anti-Hollywood on the whole angel thing. You see what Hollywood does in the movies. The poor star of the movie has hit some tough times and things are rough and the music's really low. But then all of a sudden that angel comes in and the clouds part and the other angels go, ah, and the music swells up and all of a sudden that person's life is perfect again. Not even close.
No.
At two of the lowest points of my life, when I was 24 and again when I was 35. As simple as a friend when I was 24 coming to me, asking me, while broken, depressed, living on my grandfather's couch, 2 years out of college, which I barely graduated, and aimless in life. And he asked, why didn't you ever follow your dream of being on the radio? Which I'd wanted to do since I was 11, after seeing a guy named Dr. Johnny Fever on WKRP in Cincinnati. Dating myself here, but
I used to love that show.
yeah. And out of excuses, I borrowed some money from my grandfather. I went to broadcast school in the summer of 1992, got an internship, not even a paid gig, an internship at a rock station we'd grown up listening to. And I drove to his house, hadn't seen him all summer. And he said, where you been? I said, radio school. And he went, no. I said, yeah. He goes, get a job? I said, got an internship. And he was so happy and he was so proud. Of course, I got the I told you so speech. And about 3 weeks later, that friend passed away. He'd had cancer twice, and it just came back real quick. And I worked for 10 years in radio, did about 15 years worth of hours, burnt myself into the ground, and walked away. But one of the last memories I have of radio was a big concert that my stations put on in front of 15,000 people. I was up on stage introducing bands. And at the end, there was a fireworks show. And I was sitting in the front of the stage watching the fireworks, had tears coming down. I started, for whatever reason, talking to that friend. I said, man, you believe this? Come on. Thank you. I wouldn't be here if you hadn't reached out. And his name was Danny. went into the ashes, blew up my radio career, went through a divorce, was 62 grand in debt at age 35. My life went right into the toilet because I put it there. And I started working with a life coach. And I spent an hour one afternoon in August of 03 hitting golf balls in a thunderstorm under power lines, actually holding up the club, daring the storm to hit me. And when I got to my car, the sun came out. I looked up and I started laughing. Next day, I was on the phone with brand new life coach. And he asked, you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian after I told a hysterical version of how stupid I was to be out in the storm? 2 weeks later, I was in a stand-up comedy class. And a week after that, my first Toastmasters meeting. Did stand-up for 7 years. Been speaking for, this will be 19 years this summer. His name is Daniel. And I joked to someone recently, I said, yeah, both my guardian angels were named Dan. And somebody said, well, do you know what the guardian angel Daniel means? I said, no clue. So I looked it up. He's the angel of eloquence, the angel who improves our communication skills, brings inspiration into our lives, fills us with harmony, goodness, beauty. He's the patron of leaders and speakers, and he can help us when there are important announcements to make.
Wow, right?
Can't
Just
script it
wow.
any better.
With the communication factor right there, and every single thing that they, encouraged you and supported you to do had everything to do with communication and speaking.
Yeah. And eloquence and confidence.
And
And
your
this is from a
dream.
guy who naturally, for years, which I pronounce decades, negative self-talk and very little confidence. And both times these people showed up and got me to at least stand on top of it, not necessarily through it, but to stand on top of it long enough to realize that I could do what I wanted to do.
And that brings something really particular into like the awareness factor is, sometimes we don't even believe in ourselves. But if we can find that person who even has that ounce of belief in us, it can help spark that, ignite it, and set us ablaze on fire with whatever it is that we need to do. They're that push. They're that angel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
They're the ones with the little key that goes to that little lock that's on our ankle that keeps us from, like, the excuses we pile up. What we see and say, especially say to ourselves in the mirror, can be brutal.
Oh, yeah.
And imposter syndrome and all that. And then this person comes along and goes, click, hey, just try this. And that little door opening, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this is cool. I love everything I do now. And I think back to that person who didn't believe in himself until those little, what some people might see as insignificant conversations. 20 years later, here I am, made a career out of these two people who inspired me to become a better version of myself, the version I saw but didn't know how to create.
And talk about paying it forward, because now, those two people helped the one who now helps so many. So tell us how you do what you do, Steve, because you have a really cool spin on vision boards. So let's talk a little bit about that with the vision boards, because that way back in the day, we had The Secret come out, and then all of a sudden everybody was so honed in on affirmations and manifestation, and I'm gonna will it to be, and I'm gonna get up in the morning, say my 5 minutes of affirmations, and my life is gonna be freaking amazing. But then it doesn't turn out that way, right? And there are a few little actually scientific components to manifestation. So tell us about vision boarding. How do we do this with you?
I was one of those people who, right about the time I started working with that life coach named Dan, Coach Dan, he said, hey, have you ever heard of The Secret? I went and got the DVD and I watched it, I think 8 Sunday nights in a row before I went to bed. And I watched it. I'm like, oh yeah. And I suddenly realized they got a lot of it right, but they made it fit for mass consumption and they didn't go deep enough. And out of the 98-minute DVD, there was this one guy named John Assaraf who talked for 3 minutes and he mentioned this thing called a vision board. And I was so fascinated by that I made a couple vision boards. And within 3 weeks, I'm like, these are garbage. I'm not even emotionally connected to them. You know, it had all the prerequisite, like the vision board starter kit, the Lamborghini, the yacht, the mansion, the private jet, the helicopter, the big honking jewelry, and a bank vault full of gold bars or pallets of cash. And 3 weeks later, I'm like, no. What I started to do without even realizing it was dig deep into the science without being a scientifically minded person and thought, well, what do I really want? Like, what would mean something to me that doesn't necessarily have to do with anyone else's life? And I sat and I wrote and I dug and I went to the beach one time because it was quiet there. And I parked myself between two sets of rocks and listened to the waves on the rocks, which is like a homegrown meditation. I wrote 7 pages of notes about what I wanted in all areas of my life. I started using a life wheel to at least be aware that it's not just about stuff. And I started to put together my next boards, and I started to create success in my life. And I started to meet the people I needed to meet to get there. I intentionally became, because I was post-divorce, I said, I only want to fall in love one more time in my life. And I want to be the best version of myself so that whoever she is, she will be the best partner for that person, even if I'm not there yet. 3 years I worked on that person. Put pictures of the type of relationship I wanted to have, couples walking hand in hand on a beach, standing at the railing of a ship at sunset, hopeless romantic, cooking dinner together in a kitchen and laughing, guy piggybacking his girl through a brook so she don't get all wet, and all of this. And in early June of 07, I wrote down, I'm ready to fall in love. And 10 days later, I get an email from a woman I hadn't spoken with or seen in 21 years, on whom I had a crush in high school from 1,000 miles away. She sent me an email. Hey, I just saw you online. We should keep in touch. This June is our 16th anniversary.
Now that isn't magical, all right? I want to pick apart some things in there, right?
Yeah.
So congratulations on
Thank you.
your relationship and how wonderful it is. I see your stuff and it's awesome. I love seeing couples just be in that space of true partnership and love. So I will say I love seeing what you put out there. When we look at those, the like the vision board piece, I want to go back to what you said, because you said I didn't have any emotional attachment to, the Lamborghini, the this, the that, all the things. A lot of times when clients come to me, they're not exactly sure what they want. They know what they don't want. So there's a disconnect right there. We know what we don't want, and we don't really know what we want. So I call it defining your desire, really defining what it is that you truly want and why you want it. And I have 4 questions. Now, if we apply this to the vision board, what I find is people come to me, and then when I start asking, what do you want? So you might start with the Lamborghini, the this, the that, the things, the house, money. But when we dig deeper, because it could be a trip here, and when I ask why that, well, I don't know. I guess I don't really need that. And then we dig a little bit deeper, and it actually comes down to a feeling. I want to feel safe and secure. I want to be at peace. I want to be happy and joyful and, focused on that peace and relaxation in my life. Oh, so what brings more of that? So it sounds like you kind of went through that process in that visual way of, no, it's not these things that I want the feeling.
Yeah.
Hopeless romantic. You had all of these things up there of all these things that incite and ignite emotions of what? Love, connection, happiness, togetherness. So I just wanted to point that out, because I think that is wonderful. And how do you deal with the people that are just like, hey, vision board party, and what you do, and maybe some misperceptions around what you do? I'm imagining one of those memes of what Steve Gamlin's mom thinks he does, what Steve thinks he does, what everyone else thinks Steve does, and what Steve actually does.
Yeah. One of the common misconceptions is that Steve rides a unicorn that farts glitter and rainbows across the blue sky. That's what a lot of people think. And I'm glad you said the vision board parties, because we see those the beginning of every year. Hey, we're having a vision board party. Now, how do they market them? Wine, cheese, crackers, scissors, glue sticks, glitter, magazines, poster boards. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I mean, first off, wine and scissors, really bad combination. But second, you're not putting any roots under the pictures. You know, it's something. It's like resolutions to goals. It's something. I crap all over resolutions all the time, and I really shouldn't, because it's something. Vision board parties are something, but there's such a scratch of the surface. For example, I created a program based upon my notes and everything I went through. It has 10 steps to understanding everything you need to know about visualization to work it for you. Vision board parties, you show up, whatever magazines happen to be there, you cut out pictures, you slap them on a board. In my 10-step process, you don't gather pictures till module 7. Everything else is internal work, like you already said, tapping the emotions, the why, what you want to feel, and all of these things. So I even have a t-shirt line, and on the back, there's a big stop sign, and it says, friends don't let friends attend vision board parties.
I love that.
And that's, I use that to open the conversation. Because if you're going to do it, you may as well go deep and understand that there are 8 major categories or parts of our lives. That's how I teach it anyway. And that every single one is important, and they all work together 24/7. So wouldn't it be a great idea to set intentions for each one of them and understand they work together? And if you work to improve one, I made cookies the other day for a homeless shelter that serves veterans. I touched 5 areas of my life with that one action that improved 5 parts of my life out of the 8. The more you can do that, the better.
Yeah. What was coming to my brain was I've had vision board parties, small ones, meaning I'm doing my own. I've been working on my own. I've got my stuff. I have a few people over, and we work them together, and we go deeper into how we want things to happen in our lives, what we're really focused on. What is if you have a word of the year, if you want a word of the year, something to focus on, to like really bring through what you're trying to accomplish in all of these areas of life. And one thing comes up every now and then when I used to do it. I don't do them anymore but what I found was people were separating things off and putting, or asking me, at least, thank goodness, because I'm like, no, you don't want to separate your job from your vision board and have a separate vision board. This is part of your life. So I want you to talk about that aspect where people might have this disconnect or feeling like they're separated from pieces of their life, that they feel like, oh, I want to do a vision board for this and a vision board for that. And no, like, what does it mean energetically when people feel they want to do that? And then, how to really tap in and bring it all together.
Yeah, big challenge is when people say, oh, I'm looking for work-life balance. And they think it's just 2 things. You know, there's 2 hats here. I'm this person at work, and then I'm this person at home in life. And they forget. And 2 of the words that I love to use integration, meaning all of the areas of your life are integrated. You have 24 hours in a day, like we all have, 7 days a week, like we all have. And the other word is harmony. And a lot of people love to use the word harmony. And I use them both because I think they're both so powerful. It's not a balance between, it's an integration of. And I originally heard that from a guy named Tony Shea, I believe you pronounced his name. He's the former CEO of Zappos. And he talked about all these parts of life working together, and they can all help each other. For example, if you take care of your physical health, you get enough sleep, you eat good food, you don't do a lot of the bad stuff, you have more energy. When you have more energy, you can work harder and be more focused. When you work harder and you're more focused, you can make more money. When you make more money, you can buy some freedom and maybe do things in your relationship. Now, when you do that, your emotions are also improved overall. And when you're doing this all with a good core values and ethics and integrity, you never have to look over your shoulder. Now, you also get to connect more deeply with people. So all of, one thing if you understand the harmony and the integration of it all, they all bring each other up. And you don't have to be a different person, work, life. I'm the same person no matter where. And I tell people this all the time, on stage, off stage, backstage, standing on the street corner, or walking down the Captain Crunch aisle at the grocery store. You will find the same version of me everywhere because I'm just me. And I bring the best of myself to all of them. And I've had amazing connections with people in every single one of those places.
Yeah, I love that because it really is really understanding who you are at deep levels helps you to understand everybody else around you, because you start recognizing that we really are reflections of each other. I don't know if you've ever read the Kybalion, but the Hermetic laws, that one of them is that opposites are exactly the same. They're just a different degree. So, which is why we may attract somebody that is very much like ourselves or very much the opposite, but either way, it's still the same. It's just looking at it from a different perspective, from a different angle.
Yeah.
It's really a cool thing to be able to show up authentically in all ways. And it's fun to see how people react sometimes when you're just showing up authentically.
Yeah.
And they think you should show up some other way.
Oh, believe me, I've had people, oh, Steve, you need to do it this way. No, I don't. I go, I don't do it that way. This is me. Take it or leave it. I'm okay either way.
Yeah, I had that happen to me where somebody misinterpreted something that I had said or written, and then went on this thing saying that I need to send out an email and apologize for slipping into like this place, and I was like, I don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And then when I thought about it, I was like, I really don't have to do any of that because I'm showing up authentically in what I said. However you're perceiving what I said, I don't have to explain what I said to anyone. It's however you're perceiving it is fine, because that's wherever you are. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with where you are, Steve. I'm okay with where I am, and I'm okay with where anyone else is. It just is. I love all of your stories. There's a couple other things that I want to touch on. Okay. Sure. With the Firewood, the motivational firewood guy.
Yeah.
I'm sure people are like, what is this motivational firewood guy?
Yeah. One of the most common questions is, where did that come from? And just like the two Dans, another angel. This one's name was Dawn. So it was close. It was only off by one letter. It would have worked on Wheel of Fortune. When I became a speaker, early 2000s, 2004, and somebody said, hey, Steve, you should join the National Speakers Association. It'll help you, educate you on how to build a business, be a better speaker. And I went to a National Speakers of New England meeting. Now, I was not a member of the organization yet, so I just had the little, what I always used to call the blue badge of shame. People know you're a visitor. You just write your name with a Sharpie, and everybody else has these nice embossed name badges. So I walked up to the front desk, and guy saw my name badge. He goes, oh, hey, Steve, nice to have you here with us today. What do you speak on? I said, well, I want to be a motivational speaker. He said, okay, what sets you apart? I said, I want to help people. And he laughed and goes, Steve, we all want to help people. That's why we're speakers. I'm like, oh, okay. God love him. He devoted about 3 to 5 minutes just talking to me. And finally, at the end of it, I just threw up my hands. I go, Don, if someone's paying to hear me speak, it means that they've got a spark of something in their heart. And if I share a story or a lesson or something I've gone through and inspires them to take an action and get better, I go, it's like I gave them a piece of motivational firewood. He snaps his fingers and he's asked, do you know anything about trademarks? I'm like, nope. He said, I love that concept because that's really unique and different. But you know what I like the most? The way you just lit up when you said it that way. He says, young man, run with that. And I got home a week later. I had already researched trademarks, dropped $1,200, and I've owned the trademark ever since on motivational firewood. And it all came from another conversation with an angel.
Another life angel. I love that. And I love that everything that goes along with lighting a fire or sparking, all of those buzzwords that go along with motivational firewood.
Yeah.
It's totally you, Steve.
That's the goal every day, is to just light fires wherever I can, and just I look, no matter where I'm at, I look around and I just ask myself, it's a game now. I look around, I go, how can I leave this situation a little better than I found it?
I love that. And I want to read something because I found this and I thought it was the best thing. I love hearing when people talk about people in positive ways. And I came across one of your clients had said, if a hug had a human voice, it would be Steve's. And I can say yes, because I just wanted to read that for the people who don't know who you are. That about sums it up. If a hug had a human voice, it would be Steve's. Absolutely, 100%. Knowing you, yes.
Thank you.
So everybody. So that being said, how can people get a hold of you, connect with you, so that they can follow you and hear about more, see more, and maybe partner up with you in some way?
Nice and easy. You can go to my website at stevegamlin.com, and it's Gamlin. You can also find me on social media under Steve Gamlin. Pretty much every platform out there. I'm out there in some voice, but the website has everything I do right there.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Steve. As we wrap this up, is there anything else that you want to say or leave the listeners with?
One of my favorite quotes ever, and it came from a little 8.5-pound dog named Super Teddy, who, according to my mother-in-law, I pimped out for 11 years while we had him. Wake up every day and wag yourself happy, meaning have a clear vision for yourself, know what your best skills are, and put the best stuff into your eyes, your ears, your mouth, your brain, everything. First thing every day, wake up and find something to be excited or happy or positive about, and start there.
And shake off whatever doesn't serve you.
Exactly. Scrape it off your feet and keep running.
All right. So thank you so much, Steve. And thank you for being a real life angel yourself. And everybody out there, harness your power and just keep moving forward, because you are beautiful and you too are an angel to someone. Love you all. Till next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the Magic and Miracles podcast, where everyday folks like you share their life-changing stories. The world wants to hear your extraordinary story, so is it about time you tell it? You might just end up being someone else's miracle waiting to happen. If you would like to be a guest on the show, please submit your application for consideration. If you would like to nominate a guest or submit a personal story to be read on the show, please contact us via email. In the meantime, enjoy the journey. You never know when you will experience a miracle that will change your life forever, or if you will become someone else's real-life angel. Goodbye for now, and see you on the next episode of Magic and Miracles, the podcast with wings.